Hello everyone! Tonight we embark on a journey unlike any you've ever imagined. Forget your ergonomic mattresses and your noise-cancelling headphones. Forget the gentle hum of your air conditioner. Tonight you're not nestled in your cozy bed. You're about to be plunged quite unceremoniously into the hot, sandy, surprisingly dusty reality of ancient Egypt. Imagine waking up to the cacophony of 1,000 nervous sheep and the distant braying of donkeys, all while trying to remember if you set your alarm for work. Spoiler alert. You probably wouldn't survive 5 minutes before asking for the Wi-Fi password. You blink, trying to clear the haze from your vision, but it's not the familiar ceiling of your bedroom that greets you. Instead, rough-hewn beams and a thatched roof loom above, casting patterns of unfamiliar shadow. The air, thick with the scent of dried mud, straw, and something vaguely like stale flatbread, fills your lungs. You shift, and the coarse linen beneath you rustles. This isn't right. Where's your phone? Where's the reassuring glow of your bedside lamp? Then the sounds filter in, not the gentle urban lullaby you're used to, but the low, urgent murmurs of voices outside your dwelling. Your small, sturdy bed, more a raised platform than anything, feels unusually firm beneath you. You push yourself up, your limbs feeling surprisingly heavy, and a strange sense of disquiet prickles at the back of your neck. It's early morning, the sun not yet fully over the horizon, but there's an undeniable buzz in the air, a tension that hums just beneath the surface of the usual village sounds. You hear names being whispered. Moses. Pharaoh. Leave. The words are disjointed, confusing, yet they carry a strange weight. You stumble towards the doorway, pushing aside a woven mat. The scene outside is one of controlled, yet undeniable, chaos. People you vaguely recognize as neighbors are bustling, not in their usual morning routines of grinding grain or fetching water, but with a frantic purpose. They're tying bundles, shoeing livestock, whispering in hushed, excited tones. Your normally placid village, nestled on the fertile banks of the Nile, feels like a disturbed anthill. A woman whose face is etched with a mixture of weariness and fervent hope hurries past your door, clutching a clay pot. She glances at you, a flicker of recognition in her eyes before she's swept away by the current of activity. You try to speak, but your throat feels dry, and the words catch. What is happening? Why is everyone packing? Then you hear it more. Clearly, a man's voice, deep and resonant, carrying over the growing din. The Lord has spoken! Tonight we go! It's not a shout of anger or fear, but of profound conviction, a quiet certainty that makes the hairs on your arms stand up. You look around, trying to find a familiar face, someone to explain this sudden, unbelievable upheaval. But everyone seems to be caught in their own whirlwind of preparation. Even Scrappy, your loyal, if somewhat aloof, goat, seems unusually agitated. He's usually content to munch on whatever dried weeds he can find, but now he's butting his head gently against your leg, looking at you with wide, somewhat bewildered golden eyes, as if asking, "Are we really doing this?" You feel a strange mix of fear and an almost childish excitement. This isn't a normal day, this isn't a normal morning, this is something monumental. A great unknown beckons, wrapped in the dust and the nervous energy of thousands. The very ground seems to vibrate with a silent communal decision. You're not just witnessing history, you're in it. And honestly, you're still a bit groggy and wondering if you left your phone charging. Before you settle in, take 2 seconds to like and subscribe. It helps more people find this and unwind just like you're about to. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Now lower the lights, let the hum of the world fade behind you. Tonight, it's just you in this story. The initial bewilderment slowly begins to coalesce into something resembling understanding, albeit a very shaky one. You notice the sheer efficiency in the seemingly haphazard movements. It's not a frenzied panic, not exactly, but a deeply ingrained urgency. This isn't just a spontaneous village meeting, it's a massive, coordinated, albeit incredibly rushed evacuation. You see families dismantling their temporary shelters, folding woven mats, tying up clay pots, and coaxing reluctant goats and sheep into small, manageable herds. The air fills with the bleating of livestock, the lowing of cattle, and the constant, rhythmic thump of sacks being packed. You watch as an older woman, her face a roadmap of ancient wrinkles, meticulously rolls up a sleeping mat, her movements practiced and deliberate. She catches your eye, a silent invitation to join the effort. Without fully understanding why, you find yourself mimicking her actions, hands fumbling with unfamiliar materials. You try to recall what possessions you might have in this strange, new life. A small, roughly carved wooden bowl, a drinking gourd, a spare tunic made of coarse linen. Not exactly the contents of your modern backpack, are they? No portable charger, no noise-cancelling headphones to drown out the impending chaos. You're truly starting from scratch here, or rather, from the bare essentials of an ancient Egyptian commoner. The sun begins its slow ascent, painting the sky in hues of orange and dusty rose, a beautiful backdrop to what feels like the end of your known world. You realize that this isn't just your family or your village. The scale of this movement is staggering. You can see plumes of dust rising in the distance, indicating that other communities along the Nile are also stirring, responding to the same unseen command. It's like an ancient flash mob, but instead of breaking into synchronized dance, everyone is packing their entire lives into what they can carry. You stumble over a basket filled with dried figs and dates. A welcome, if slightly sticky find. Scrappy, your goat, has decided this is an excellent opportunity for a pre-journey snack. He's nudging the basket with his nose, clearly thinking these provisions are for his exclusive enjoyment. You gently push him away, reminding him, "Patience, my friend. This is for us, not just your bottomless stomach." He gives you a look that clearly says, a likely story, but grudgingly backs off. Historians still debate whether ancient Egyptian goats were quite as stubborn as Scrappy, but you have no doubt about this one. You overhear fragments of conversations, stories passed in hushed tones about plagues, about a hardened pharaoh, and about a man named Moses who speaks with an authority unlike any other. There's a nervous energy about him, a mix of reverence and apprehension. You learn that this man, Moses, has spoken directly with their God, a concept that feels both terrifying and strangely comforting. You've always offered your small prayers to the usual pantheon of Egyptian deities, Ra, Osiris, Isis, but this new, singular god seems to command a different kind of power. It's a widely known historical fact that the polytheistic Egyptians worshipped a vast array of gods, each with specific domains. This shift to a singular, all-powerful deity is a radical departure, and you can feel the tremor of that change in the air. As you bundle your few belongings, you notice a peculiar detail. Many people are wrapping their meager leavened dough in cloths rather than letting it rise. Later, you'll learn that this haste, this inability to wait for the bread to rise, will become a lasting symbol of the urgency of this departure. An eccentric curiosity, you might think, to base an entire tradition on unleavened bread, but in the moment it's just another sign of the frantic speed at which everything is unfolding. You also catch a glimpse of someone trying to strap a small, rather vocal crocodile to a makeshift cart. Clearly, some people are really attached to their pets, even the scaly, toothy ones. You make a mental note to keep Scrappy far away from that particular pet. The sun climbs higher, and the heat begins to assert itself. You can feel the sweat trickling down your back, a familiar discomfort that grounds you in this bizarre reality. The air is thick with the dust kicked up by thousands of restless feet and hooves, mingling with the scent of wood smoke from hastily extinguished cooking fires. This is it. There's no turning back now. The familiar comfort of your small dwelling, the daily rhythm of the Nile, the routine of your life as an Egyptian commoner, all are fading into the dust. You're part of something far, far bigger now, a human tide about to be unleashed upon the desert. And honestly, you just hope someone remembered to pack extra water. The sun, now a brazen disk in the sky, beats down with relentless intensity. You're finding that ancient Egyptian mornings don't offer the gentle transition you're used to. It's 0 to scorching in what feels like moments. The air, thick with dust, and the collective anticipation of thousands, crackles with an almost visible energy. You've managed to tie your few belongings into a manageable bundle, a surprisingly light load that still feels cumbersome on your back. Scrappy, your goat, sensing the impending movement, has decided to demonstrate his agility by attempting to scale a small, crumbling mud brick wall, clearly dreaming of greener pastures that definitely aren't in Egypt. You gently pull him back, reminding him that scaling walls isn't exactly part of the Exodus survival guide. The murmuring has grown into a low roar, a symphony of human voices, animal sounds, and the creak of rudimentary carts. You find yourself being nudged forward by the sheer press of bodies. It's like being at a very crowded, very hot, and extremely unorganized music festival, except everyone is wearing linen and sandals, and the main act is a man you've never met telling you to leave everything you know. You glance around, trying to spot a familiar face, a neighbor, anyone who can confirm that this isn't some elaborate, heat-induced hallucination. The sheer scale of the gathering is breathtaking. As you move towards what seems to be a central assembly point, you see other groups, families and clans merging into the swelling tide. From every direction, people are converging, a human river flowing towards an unknown destination. It's a widely known historical fact that large-scale movements of people are incredibly complex, and seeing it firsthand, you realize the immense logistical challenge this represents. Historians still debate the exact numbers, but from your perspective, it feels like everyone is here. It's a staggering sight, thousands upon thousands of souls, all driven by the same mix of fear, desperation, and an almost blind faith. You pass by a small group arguing heatedly over who gets to carry a particularly stubborn donkey. One man, exasperated, throws up his hands. "It's easier to carry the donkey than to reason with it," he exclaims, and you can't help but crack a small smile. You've certainly felt that way about Scrappy sometimes. Speaking of whom, Scrappy has now found a discarded piece of rope and is attempting to eat it. You sigh, contemplating whether to intervene or just let him enjoy his peculiar snack. At this point, a little extra fiber probably won't hurt him. As you get closer to the apparent muster point, you notice something peculiar. Among the general confusion, there are individuals, older men and women, moving with a quiet authority, directing people, pointing out pathways. They don't wear uniforms. Their authority comes from a shared sense of purpose and, you suspect, a deep understanding of the spiritual gravity of the moment. It's an eccentric curiosity how such a massive, leaderless, from your immediate perspective, crowd can possess such an underlying order. It's as if an invisible hand is guiding the flow, a testament to the power of a shared belief, or perhaps just the innate human drive to follow a plan, any plan, when faced with the unknown. The sun beats down relentlessly, and you feel the familiar trickle of sweat. You're already thirsty, a discomfort that will quickly become your constant companion. The air, now thick with the scent of bodies, animals, and dry earth, is heavy. You adjust your bundle on your shoulder, feeling the rough fabric chafe against your skin. This isn't just about walking, it's about enduring. You crane your neck, trying to see the front of this immense procession, but it stretches further than your eyes can discern. You are but a tiny speck in this moving tapestry of humanity, a single thread in a story far grander than you can yet grasp. The sheer anticipation is a physical thing, a vibrating hum that runs through the very ground beneath your sandaled feet. You take a deep breath, steeling yourself. The next step is into the unknown, and you have a sneaking suspicion that this will be far more taxing than any ancient Egyptian workout routine. The first few steps of the journey are almost deceptively gentle. You're still on familiar ground, the dusty tracks you've walked 1,000 times to fetch water or tend to the fields. But the sheer volume of people changes everything. It's not just a walk, it's a living, breathing river of humanity. The air is thick with the scent of bodies, a mix of sweat, unwashed linen, and the earthy smell of thousands of restless animals. You try to keep your footing on the uneven ground, jostled by a constant stream of elbows and bundles. Scrappy, your goat, surprisingly agile, weaves through the legs occasionally, letting out a startled bleat. He's clearly more accustomed to open fields than this tightly packed human traffic jam. You briefly wonder if he's enjoying the chaos, or if he's just resigned to being part of this immense, slow-moving parade. The sun quickly ascends to its zenith, turning the air into a shimmering haze. The heat is relentless, baking your skin and making every breath feel like drawing in warm dust. You quickly learn the strategic importance of staying close to anyone with a water skin, even if it means enduring the occasional argumentative conversation. You also realize that your modern concept of personal space is a luxury simply not afforded to a commoner in an ancient mass migration. You're practically nose to tail with the person in front of you, and the person behind you is equally close. It's an exercise in patience and subtle maneuvering, almost like an ancient, dusty, and very slow game of human Tetris. The noise is a constant, overwhelming presence. The lowing of oxen, the bleating of sheep, the excited chatter of children, the urgent instructions shouted between adults, it all blends into a cacophony that quickly numbs your ears. You try to focus on the rhythmic shuffling of feet, a strangely hypnotic sound if you let it be. Every now and then, a child starts to cry, a sharp, piercing sound that cuts through the general din, quickly followed by the soothing murmur of a parent. It's a widely known historical fact that large human migrations, even in modern times, are incredibly noisy and disorganized endeavors, but experiencing it firsthand reveals the sheer, raw intensity of it all. You can almost feel the collective strain, the shared determination to just keep moving forward. You spot an older man struggling with a heavy sack of grain, his shoulders slumped with exhaustion. Without thinking, you reach out and offer to help. He gives you a grateful nod, his eyes weary but kind. It's a small gesture, but in this swirling mass of humanity, it feels like a significant connection. You realize that despite the overwhelming numbers, there's a quiet camaraderie forming, a shared understanding of the hardships ahead. Historians still debate the precise social dynamics within such a large group, but from your perspective it feels like necessity is truly the mother of unexpected friendships. An eccentric curiosity you observe is how Some families are transporting their most cherished possessions, not gold or jewels, but often surprisingly mundane items. You see one family meticulously guarding a large, intricately carved wooden chest as if it holds the secrets of the universe. You can't help but wonder what treasures it contains. Perhaps it's just a collection of particularly good cooking pots, or maybe a beloved, if slightly chipped, family idol. You also notice that the dust isn't just on the ground, it's in the air, coating everything, including your tongue, your teeth, and probably your very soul. You find yourself constantly trying to clear your throat, a futile effort against the relentless onslaught of pulverized earth. Scrappy, of course, seems completely unbothered, occasionally stopping to sniff at a particularly dusty patch of ground, as if expecting a hidden gourmet weed to magically appear. As the hours drag on, the rhythm of the march becomes strangely mesmerizing. One foot in front of the other, an endless shuffle. The landscape begins to change, the lush green of the Nile banks slowly giving way to a more arid, rocky terrain. The sun is now beginning its slow descent, casting long, distorted shadows across the endless procession. You're tired, your feet ache, and you're pretty sure you've inhaled enough dust to start a small desert. But still, you move, forward by the tide of bodies, by the sheer momentum of this unbelievable journey. There's no turning back now. You're on the path, wherever it may lead. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the vast desert sky in fiery oranges and deep purples, the relentless march begins to slow. The air, which moments ago shimmered with heat, now carries a surprising chill. You realize just how quickly the desert loses its warmth once the sun departs, a stark contrast to the lingering heat of your modern city nights. The subtle shift in temperature sends a shiver down your spine, a reminder of how utterly unprepared you are for this environment. Even Scrappy, your normally indefatigable goat, seems to be feeling the shift. He lets out a quiet, almost sheepish bleat and presses closer to your leg, seeking warmth. The movement of the multitude doesn't stop abruptly, but rather dissolves into 1,000 smaller eddies of activity. The roar of the day gives way to a new symphony of sounds, the rustle of straw mats being unrolled, the soft clatter of cooking pots, the low hum of conversation as families begin to settle. You find yourself drifting with the flow, looking for a patch of relatively flat ground that isn't already claimed. It's like trying to find a parking spot at a major sporting event, except the vehicles are people and livestock, and there are no lines painted on the ground. You eventually manage to stake out a small, dusty territory. It's barely enough room for you and Scrappy to lie down, but in this sprawling, temporary city, it feels like a private estate. You watch, fascinated, as families quickly transform patches of barren earth into makeshift homes. Woven mats are spread out, bundles of belongings are arranged to create windbreaks, and small, smokeless fires are kindled using dried scrub and twigs. A testament to ancient ingenuity. A widely known historical fact about nomadic peoples is their incredible efficiency in setting up and breaking down camps, and you're witnessing it firsthand, on a scale that truly boggles the mind. Someone nearby is attempting to start a fire. By rubbing two sticks together, a task that seems to be taking an eternity and producing more frustration than sparks. You briefly consider pulling out a modern lighter, then remember you don't have one, and even if you did, it would likely cause mass panic or worship. You settle for watching the struggles, offering silent encouragement. An eccentric curiosity you notice is how carefully people manage their meager water supplies. Every drop is precious, used for drinking, a quick rinse of the face, or to moisten a cloth. No one is washing their hands casually or leaving a tap running. The concept of endless, readily available water is a luxurious fantasy in this world. You even see someone trying to collect the dew that's starting to settle on a large leaf, a desperate measure for a single drop. As darkness fully descends, the desert sky truly comes alive. Without the light pollution of modern cities, the stars are an incandescent blanket stretching from horizon to horizon. Each tiny pinprick of light feels closer, more intense than you've ever seen them. It's a humbling sight, making you feel incredibly small, yet connected to something vast and eternal. Scrappy, surprisingly, seems to appreciate the celestial display too. He's lying close beside you, head resting on his paws, gazing up at the sky with an uncharacteristic stillness. Perhaps he's contemplating the true meaning of the universe, or perhaps he just saw a particularly shiny star that looked like a tasty pebble. The chill deepens, and you pull your rough linen tunic tighter around you. Sleep is a strange proposition. In this environment, the ground is hard. The sounds of thousands of people and animals settling for the night create a constant murmur, and the fear of the unknown still prickles at the edges of your mind. Historians still debate the psychological toll of such an arduous and uncertain journey, but you can feel it in the quiet anxiety that hums beneath the surface of the camp. You try to close your eyes, focusing on the distant, rhythmic breathing of the multitude, hoping to find some measure of peace in this vast, ancient sleeping bag of humanity. The new day dawns, not with the gentle caress of an alarm clock, but with the collective stirrings of tens of thousands of people and animals. The sounds begin subtly, a cough here, a bleat there, then the rustle of straw, as families begin to fold their meager sleeping arrangements. The air, still carrying the lingering chill of the desert night, quickly warms as the sun peeks over the horizon, promising another day of relentless heat. Your limbs feel stiff and uncooperative after. Sleeping on the hard ground, a stark reminder that your modern body is definitely not built for ancient nomadic life. You briefly consider finding a yoga mat, then realize even asking for one would probably get you a very confused stare. The rhythm of the wilderness quickly asserts itself. There's no time for leisurely breakfasts or morning news. The priority is to move, to keep the vast procession flowing. You watch as small fires, which provided a brief warmth during the night, are quickly extinguished, the last wisps of smoke dissolving into the dusty air. Children, surprisingly resilient, are already chasing each other, their laughter a thin, hopeful sound against the murmur of the waking camp. Scrappy, your goat, has decided that the best way to start the day is to attempt to nibble on your hair, a truly unique form of ancient alarm clock. You gently push him away, reminding him that human hair is neither nutritious nor particularly tasty. He just looks at you with an expression that says, "You'll regret that when I'm gone." The constant movement is the defining feature of your new reality. You quickly fall into a pattern. Wake, pack, walk, walk, walk. Make camp, sleep, repeat. The landscape slowly shifts around you, a monotonous expanse of sand, rock, and sparse, hardy vegetation. You realize that what seemed like a simple walk in the desert is, in fact, an incredible feat of endurance. Every step kicks up dust, and soon you're covered in a fine, gritty layer that seems to cling to your skin and clothes. It's like living inside a giant, slow-motion sandstorm. You learn to recognize the subtle cues of the vast multitude. A slight shift in the collective hum of voices might indicate a slowdown ahead, or a particularly challenging piece of terrain. You notice how different families manage their resources. Some seem surprisingly organized, while others are a constant flurry of misplaced items and frantic searches. It's a widely known historical fact that group cohesion is vital for survival. In harsh environments, and you see firsthand how the collective effort, despite individual frustrations, keeps everyone moving. There's no opting out, no hailing a rideshare. You're all in this together, whether you like it or not. An eccentric curiosity you observe is the makeshift solutions people come up with for carrying their belongings. You see old woven baskets, repurposed as baby carriers, large clay pots strapped precariously to the backs of donkeys, and even someone attempting to pull a small, reluctant pig on a leash. It's a testament to ancient ingenuity and a desperate need to bring something from your old life. You even spot a particularly enterprising individual trying to drag a small, potted palm tree, clearly hoping to have a touch of home in the barren expanse. You can't help but chuckle. Some attachments are truly universal, even across millennia. Historians still debate the extent of personal belongings carried during the Exodus, but from your vantage point, it's clear people held on to what little comfort they could. The sun climbs higher, and the heat begins to press down again. You feel the familiar ache in your feet and the growing dryness in your mouth. You learn to conserve water, taking only small, measured sips from your gourd. Every hour feels like an eternity, but somehow the journey continues. You're a tiny cog in an immense, relentless machine, driven forward by an unseen force and the sheer momentum of a fleeing nation. Even Scrappy seems to understand the unspoken rule. Keep moving. He trots dutifully beside you, occasionally pausing to investigate an interesting-looking rock or to attempt a snack from a particularly thorny bush. His unwavering companionship is a small, comforting constant in this bewildering, dusty, and endless march. The days since the departure from Egypt have begun to blur into a monotonous haze of dust, endless walking, and a gnawing, persistent hunger. Your initial fear of Pharaoh's army has been replaced by the more immediate, insidious enemy of an empty stomach. The supplies you hastily packed, meager as they were, dwindled faster than you could have imagined. Now your diet consists of what little you can forage, a few tough roots, perhaps a stray, very unlucky beetle, and a constant, growing craving for anything substantial. You find yourself idly fantasizing about the taste of fresh bread, or even just a handful of those dried figs you once scoffed at. Who knew hunger could be so profoundly boring? The grumbling among the multitude has intensified, evolving from quiet whispers into open complaints that echo through the camp each night. People are openly questioning the wisdom of this entire venture. "Why did we ever leave?" someone wails, their voice raw with despair. "At least in Egypt we had food. We had water that didn't taste of dust and desperation." You hear arguments erupt over scraps of food, the bonds of camaraderie tested by the relentless scarcity. The initial awe and hope that fueled the journey are quickly eroding under the harsh realities of the desert. Even Scrappy, your loyal goat, has started to look at you with an accusatory gaze, as if personally blaming you for the lack of decent vegetation. He's resorting to trying to eat the very sand, a truly desperate culinary choice even for him. You often find yourself staring out at the desolate landscape, a vast, unchanging expanse of sand and rock under an unyielding sun. There are no signs of life, no oases, just an endless, barren wilderness. The sheer scale of this desert feels oppressive, a silent, mocking testament to your predicament. Every step forward feels like a step into deeper uncertainty. This is a widely known historical experience for any large group traversing a desert. The constant battle against hunger, thirst, and the immense psychological toll of the unknown. Historians still debate the specific routes and the precise conditions of the wilderness journey, but from your aching feet and growling stomach, it feels like an eternity of barrenness. The nights offer little respite. The cold bites deeper after. The scorching heat of the day, and sleep is a restless affair, punctuated by the sounds of restless animals and the murmurs of discontent. You try to keep your spirits up, reminding yourself of the plagues, of Pharaoh's cruelty, of the promise of freedom. But even those memories are starting to feel distant, overshadowed by the very real, very immediate pain of hunger. You pass by families huddled together for warmth, their faces gaunt, their eyes filled with a weariness that goes beyond physical exhaustion. It's a spiritual weariness, a questioning of faith and purpose. An eccentric curiosity you observe is how intensely people now value even the smallest comfort. A single drop of water from a neighbor's skin, a shared, stale piece of bread, a moment of shade under a rare, stunted bush. These are treasures now, more precious than any gold. You even see someone meticulously counting out pebbles, a strange, desperate game to distract from the emptiness in their gut. It's a stark lesson in humility and the true meaning of scarcity. Scrappy, having given up on the sand, has found a discarded leather strap and is now attempting to derive nutrients from it, his dedication to snacking truly unwavering, even in the face of absolute nothingness. As another day fades into the oppressive sameness of the desert, a chilling realization settles over you. You're not just hungry, you're starting to feel weak. The constant exertion, the lack of proper nourishment, it's all taking its toll. The whispers of returning to Egypt, once dismissed as foolish, now hold a strange, tempting allure. Anything, it seems, might be better than this slow, agonizing slide into starvation. Your gaze drifts to the horizon, not seeking a destination, but simply hoping for something different. The sun is a relentless hammer beating down on your head as you trudge through the seemingly endless expanse of sand and rock. The hunger, once a distant ache, has sharpened into a constant, gnawing presence. Every step feels heavier than the last, fueled by sheer will rather than sustenance. The grumbling in the ranks has escalated beyond whispers. It's a palpable undercurrent of resentment, a collective sigh of frustration that hangs heavy in the scorching air. People are no longer just complaining, they're actively questioning, their voices carrying the sting of betrayal. Where is this promised land? Someone shouts, the words echoing the thoughts in your own weary mind. You hear arguments breaking out, short, sharp bursts of anger born from exhaustion and despair. Families are bickering over dwindling water supplies, friends are snapping at each other over trivialities. It's a testament to the brutal toll this journey is taking on everyone's patience and good humor. You briefly wonder if ancient reality TV shows existed, because this would certainly be prime viewing. Scrappy, your goat, sensing the tension, has wisely decided to keep a low profile, sticking unusually close to your legs, occasionally nudging your hand as if seeking reassurance, or perhaps just a very small, very bland, and very non-existent snack. The memory of Egypt, once a symbol of oppression, now begins to morph into a distorted picture of comfort and plenty. At least we had fish in Egypt, a woman laments loudly, the yearning in her voice almost palpable. You even hear whispers of people wishing they had died back in the land of their bondage, rather than face this slow, agonizing demise in the wilderness. It's a widely known historical phenomenon that populations under extreme duress often idealize their past, even if that past was one of hardship. The human mind, you realize, is excellent at selective memory, especially when faced with an empty stomach. You pass by a group huddled around an old man who is trying to draw water from a seemingly dry wadi, a desperate, futile effort. His face is etched with a weariness that chills you more than the desert night. You realize that thirst is becoming as terrifying as hunger, a constant burning sensation that distracts from everything else. Historians still debate the specific hardships faced by the multitude at different stages of the journey, but from your parched throat, the water shortage is brutally real. You find yourself conserving every drop, letting the water linger on your tongue for precious moments before swallowing. An eccentric curiosity you observe is how some individuals, despite the pervasive despair, cling to tiny rituals or items from their past lives. You see a woman meticulously braiding a small piece of straw, her fingers moving with a focused determination that seems out of place in the chaos. Another man polishes a tiny, tarnished copper amulet, rubbing it compulsively, as if hoping to conjure a meal from its surface. These small acts of defiance against the overwhelming reality are strangely moving. Scrappy, meanwhile, has found a particularly resilient thorn bush and is attempting to extract some moisture from it, a surprisingly determined effort that yields almost nothing. His optimism, or perhaps sheer stubbornness, is truly a wonder to behold. As the day wears on, the distant horizon shimmers, but it's not a mirage of water or lush greenery. It's something vast, blue, and utterly impossibly blocking your path. A collective murmur starts to rise, quickly turning into shouts. The sea, the very barrier you thought you had escaped. You feel a familiar knot of dread tighten in your stomach. The journey may have been long and hard, but now, it seems, it has simply led you to an insurmountable dead end. The collective grumbling instantly morphs into a desperate chorus of cries as the impossible truth settles upon the multitude. Before you, stretching further than the eye can see, is the vast, shimmering expanse of the Red Sea. Your heart plummets. You're trapped. On one side, the endless, uncrossable waters. On the other, the unforgiving desert you just traversed, now feeling like a mocking trap. It's a moment of crushing realization, a dead end in the most absolute sense. Scrappy, your goat, senses the despair, his usual curiosity replaced by agitated bleats as he tries to push past your legs, as if searching for a hidden path through the solid mass of water. You hear shouts of "Why have you brought us here to die?" and anguished cries echoing through the crowd. People are openly weeping, their faces etched with a profound sense of betrayal and hopelessness. The fear of starvation and thirst, which has been your constant companion, is now compounded by the terror of being utterly cornered. It's like waking up from a nightmare only to find yourself in a worse one. You briefly wonder if you could just swim it, but a glance at the churning vastness of the sea tells you that's a fool's errand. Even a modern Olympic swimmer would struggle with this, let alone a multitude of weary travelers and their livestock. This sudden confrontation with an insurmountable barrier is a widely known historical moment, pivotal to the Exodus narrative, and experiencing the collective despair of thousands is chilling. You are witnessing a full-blown existential crisis unfold on a colossal scale. Every hope, every desperate step taken from Egypt seems to have led to this final, inescapable cul-de-sac. Historians still debate the specific emotional and psychological breakdown within the community at this precise moment, but from your vantage point, it feels like the very fabric of hope is unraveling. You watch as some individuals, in their overwhelming despair, simply drop to their knees, their faces buried in their hands. Others are frantically searching for any loose logs or pieces of debris that might offer a makeshift raft, a futile act of desperation against the overwhelming might of the sea. It's an eccentric curiosity how the human mind, even when faced with the utterly impossible, still seeks a tangible solution. You even spot a child trying to calm a frightened lamb, their small, comforting gestures a poignant contrast to the surrounding terror. Scrappy, meanwhile, has given up on finding a path and is now simply pressing himself tightly against your leg, his usually independent spirit replaced by a desperate need for proximity. His soft fur against your skin is a small, grounding comfort. Amidst the swirling panic, the sun begins its slow descent towards the western horizon, casting long, ominous shadows across the now stopped multitude. The silence that falls over the crowd is almost more terrifying than the previous noise, a silence born of collective dread, broken only by the distant rhythmic lapping of the waves against the shore. You can feel the eyes of thousands fixed on the water, then turning almost hopelessly back towards the land they just left. There's a sickening pit in your stomach. You've walked for what feels like an eternity, endured hunger and thirst, and now here you are, at a dead end. And then a new sound begins to creep through the air. Faint at first, but growing steadily louder. A distant rumble. A sound that makes your blood run cold, a sound that speaks of retribution. The faint rumble that you heard has quickly transformed into a terrifying crescendo, a sound that vibrates through the very ground beneath your feet. It's the unmistakable thunder of chariots, the rhythmic pounding of hooves, and the distant, chilling shouts of men, Pharaoh's army. Your heart leaps into your throat, a sudden, cold terror replacing the weary resignation you felt moments ago. You're trapped. Between the impassable sea and the vengeful legions of Egypt, there's no escape. Scrappy, your goat, lets out a frantic bleat, his usually calm demeanor replaced by an almost human panic as he tries to burrow behind your legs. He seems to sense the imminent danger, perhaps even more acutely than you do. The chaos that erupts among the multitude is absolute. The low grumbling instantly transforms into screams of despair and shouts of "we are lost." People are pushing, shoving, trying to turn back, only to collide with those behind them who are also trying to flee. It's a terrifying crush of bodies, a desperate scramble for an escape that doesn't exist. Children are crying, mothers are calling out names, and the desperate cries of animals add to the horrifying symphony of panic. You're caught in the surging tide, tossed back and forth, feeling the suffocating pressure of thousands of terrified people. You try to crane your neck to see the source of the relentless sound. And then, through a gap in the surging bodies, you catch a glimpse. The sun, now low on the horizon, glints off bronze armor and the sharp points of spears. The chariots, sleek and terrifying, are churning up massive clouds of dust, advancing with an inexorable, deadly purpose. It's a widely known historical fact that the Egyptian army of that period was a formidable force, and seeing it bearing down on an unarmed, trapped multitude is a chilling sight. You can almost feel the cold blade of a spear at your back, the iron grip of a soldier, the terrifying return to bondage, or worse. Historians still debate the precise composition and tactics of Pharaoh's pursuing army, but from your perspective, it's simply a wall of impending doom, growing larger and more menacing with every terrifying second. You find yourself doing the most basic human thing, looking for a way out. Your eyes dart frantically from the unforgiving sea to the relentless advance of the chariots, searching for any flicker of hope, any hidden path. There is none. The hopelessness of the situation is crushing, a heavy weight that settles in your chest. An eccentric curiosity you observe amidst the terror is a few individuals, almost strangely calm, falling to their knees and beginning to pray with a fervent intensity you haven't seen before. They are not screaming or running. They are simply offering up desperate pleas to the God who brought them out of Egypt. It's a stark contrast to the surrounding panic, a silent, powerful testament to their unwavering faith, even in the face of annihilation. You also notice someone accidentally dropping their last precious water skin in the crush, the water seeping into the dust, a small, devastating tragedy amidst the much larger impending disaster. Scrappy, meanwhile, has found a relatively safe spot tucked between a large, woven basket and a very nervous donkey, his golden eyes wide with a mixture of fear and confusion. He's probably wondering why everyone isn't just trying to outrun the chariots, or perhaps if the chariots have any good snacks. The roar of the approaching army is now deafening, the ground trembling under the impact of their advance. You can almost feel their hot breath on your neck. This is it. The end of the journey, not in freedom, but in recapture, or perhaps in death. The air is thick with despair, the last vestiges of hope seemingly crushed by the relentless pursuit. You close your eyes for a moment, bracing yourself for the inevitable impact, the sounds of battle, the cries of the defeated, the sea before. You seems to mock your predicament, an endless, uncrossable barrier. There is nowhere left to run. Just as the roar of the Egyptian army fills your ears and the cold dread of impending capture grips your heart, a new, impossible silence descends. It's not the terrified hush of the multitude, but a strange, profound quiet that seems to swallow the world. You open your eyes, blinking against the dust and the blinding light of the setting sun, and then you see it. It defies all logic, all understanding, every law of nature you've ever known. Before you, the vast, impassable Red Sea is no longer a shimmering blue barrier. It's parting. Not slowly, not subtly, but with an immense, terrifying, almost theatrical majesty. The waters on either side rise like colossal, glistening walls, impossibly tall, held upright by an unseen force. You can see the dark, wet seabed beneath, a path emerging where moments ago there was only endless ocean. The scale of it is so immense, so utterly unbelievable, that your mind struggles to process it. It's like watching a mountain spontaneously, split in half, but made of water. A gasp ripples through the multitude, a collective exhalation of pure awe and disbelief. The screams of terror have died on people's lips, replaced by stunned silence. Even the approaching thunder of Pharaoh's chariots seems to dim in comparison to the deafening spectacle unfolding before you. You just stand there, mouth agape, eyes wide, completely paralyzed by the impossible beauty and terror of it all. Scrappy, your goat, has stopped his frantic bleating. He's standing perfectly still beside you, his head tilted, his golden eyes fixed on the towering walls of water, as if trying to figure out which particularly juicy kelp he should target first. You look around at the faces of those near you. Their expressions mirror your own, a mix of profound fear, uncomprehending wonder, and a fragile, nascent hope. This is a widely known historical event, etched into countless stories, but to witness it firsthand is to have your entire concept of reality shattered and reassembled in an instant. Historians still debate the natural phenomena that might explain such an event, from tsunamis to seismic activity, but as you stand there, feeling the wind whip between the towering walls of water, it feels undeniably, unequivocally supernatural. Voice, strong and unwavering, cuts through the stunned silence. It's Moses. He stands at the edge of the newly revealed seabed, his arm outstretched towards the impossible path. His voice, though calm, carries an authority that compels movement. "Go!" he commands, and slowly, hesitantly, the first few people begin to step onto the dry ground. It's an act of immense faith, a step into the impossible. An eccentric curiosity you notice is how some people, despite the overwhelming miracle, still pause to check if the ground is truly dry, tapping their feet nervously as if expecting the water to suddenly rush back. Others are too awestruck to move, needing a gentle nudge from those behind them. You even see a mother trying to explain to her confused child why the fish are suddenly swimming upright in giant liquid walls. You gently nudge Scrappy forward. He takes a tentative step, then another, his hooves surprisingly steady on the damp earth that was, moments ago, the ocean floor. You take a deep breath, and with a heart pounding like a drum, you follow, stepping onto the path that defies all logic, a path to an uncertain, miraculous freedom. The air here, between the towering walls of water, feels strangely cool and moist, a sharp contrast to the dusty desert. The journey across the seabed is surreal, a dreamlike sequence that feels both terrifying and utterly miraculous. The air, surprisingly cool and moist between the colossal walls of water, carries the faint, briny scent of the ocean. You can hear the distant roar of the water, a constant reminder of the immense power held at bay on either side of you. It's like walking through a giant living tunnel formed by the very sea itself. Your feet sink slightly into the damp, firm sand, leaving imprints that are quickly erased by the endless stream of people behind you. You keep your eyes fixed forward, occasionally glancing sideways at the truly unbelievable spectacle. Through the towering, shimmering walls of water, you can glimpse the shadowy forms of marine life, fish swimming in what was once their natural habitat, now encased in a liquid prison. It's an almost comedic sight, these bewildered aquatic creatures suddenly finding their world turned on its side. You wonder if they're as confused as you are. Scrappy, your goat, however, finds it utterly fascinating. He keeps trying to nose against the base of the water wall, as if attempting to lick the salty surface, probably convinced it's a new, exotic mineral lick. You have to keep gently pulling him along, reminding him that the goal is forward, not to taste the ocean walls. The light down here is strangely subdued, filtered through the immense volumes of water, casting an ethereal glow on the moving multitude. You notice the sheer diversity of objects scattered across the seabed. Small, smooth stones, fragments of ancient shells, even a few discarded bits of ancient pottery, remnants of a world now exposed. It's like walking through a museum of the ocean floor, if that museum were also actively trying to crush you with liquid walls. Historians still debate the geological implications of such a sudden and massive exposure of the seabed, but right now you're just focused on keeping your balance. The sounds are muted here, absorbed by the water. The cries of the children are softer, the bleating of the animals less piercing. It's a temporary reprieve from the constant cacophony of the desert march. You hear the rhythmic splash of bare feet on damp sand, the occasional murmur of awe or fearful prayer, and the distant, ever-present rumble of the water walls. It's a reminder of the fragility of your path, a constant tension that keeps you moving even as your feet ache. You can almost feel the collective breath being held, the silent prayer that the walls will remain standing just long enough. The light, which had been diffused and ethereal on the seabed, now takes on a more urgent, almost frantic quality. You can feel a subtle tremor running through the ground beneath your feet, a low thrum that vibrates up your legs. It's not an earthquake, not exactly, but something far more primal and terrifying. You instinctively glance back, your heart lurching. The colossal walls of water are no longer perfectly still. They're beginning to ripple, to churn, to shift. The impossible is about to become possible again, but in the most catastrophic way. A collective gasp, then a horrifying roar, sweeps through the multitude. The sound of the Egyptian army, which had been a distant murmur, suddenly swells to a deafening crescendo. They're on the seabed now, chariots thundering, horses neighing in a frantic, terrifying chorus. They must have waited, perhaps paralyzed by awe, but now they are here, right behind you, on the same impossible path. The sound of their pursuit is a sharp, brutal reminder of what you're fleeing, a horrifying punctuation mark at the end of your brief, miraculous journey across the seabed. Then with a sound like 1,000 crashing thunderclaps, the walls begin to fall. It's not a gentle collapse, it's a cataclysmic surge. The water, held back by an unseen force, rushes inward, reclaiming its territory with a vengeance. You can feel the powerful current of air created by the displacement, a sudden, violent gust that threatens to rip your simple tunic from your body. Panic erupts again, but this time it's mixed with a chilling, desperate urgency to reach the other side. You stumble, pushed forward by the sheer force of the closing sea and the frantic scramble of those around you. You risk another glance back, and what you see is etched into your memory forever. The water, a dark, churning mass, engulfs the pursuing army. Chariots are swallowed whole, horses are swept away, and the desperate cries of men are silenced by the overwhelming might of the returning sea. It's a widely known historical event depicted in countless artworks and stories, but witnessing it, feeling the ground tremble and the air displaced by such a monumental force, is an entirely different experience. There's no joy in seeing the destruction, only a profound, chilling awe at the raw power that has just saved you. Scrappy, your goat, sensing the immediate danger, lets out a series of terrified bleats. He's no longer casually sniffing the ground. He's running, a surprisingly fast blur of fur and hooves, propelled by pure instinctual fear. You grab onto his rope, letting him pull you forward, your legs burning, your lungs screaming for air. Historians still debate the ethical implications of such a divine act of destruction, but for you, in that moment, it is simply the overwhelming, terrifying, and utterly necessary salvation. An eccentric curiosity you observe even amidst the terror is the peculiar way some pieces of flotsam from the Egyptian army, splinters of chariots or pieces of armor, are tossed around by the churning waters almost playfully before being dragged under. It's a bizarre, almost surreal ballet of destruction. You also notice the deafening silence that descends once the screams of the Egyptians are gone, replaced only by the roar of the sea settling back into place. It's a silence filled with a mixture of immense relief and profound shock, a quiet testimony to the harrowing escape. You push harder, your body protesting with every step, but the image of the collapsing walls of water and the knowledge of what lies behind you propels you forward. Just a few more steps. The dampness of the seabed is giving way to something firmer, drier. You stumble forward, your legs feeling like lead, the last vestiges of adrenaline draining from your system. The damp, sandy ground of the seabed is slowly, almost imperceptibly, giving way to the coarse, dry earth of the shoreline. Each step is a small victory, a painful testament to your miraculous escape. The roar of the collapsing sea behind you has faded, replaced by the persistent, rhythmic lapping of waves against the now closed Red Sea, a sound that feels both calming and incredibly ominous. It's a strange lullaby after the chaos you've just endured. You finally drag yourself onto firmer ground, collapsing onto your knees for a moment, gasping for air. The relief is immense, a tidal wave of exhaustion washing over you. Around you, the multitude is doing much the same. People are sprawled on the sand, breathless, some weeping openly, others simply staring back at the sea with wide, uncomprehending eyes. The sheer emotional whiplash of going from certain doom to unbelievable salvation is almost too much to bear. It's a powerful, silent moment of collective awe and sheer, unadulterated relief. Scrappy, your goat, perhaps the most pragmatic of all, has already found a small, thorny bush and is attempting to nibble at its leaves, seemingly unfazed by the recent near-death experience. He looks at you with his golden eyes as if to say, "Well, that was a bit much, but are we going to stand here all day, or are we moving on to greener pastures?" You manage a weak smile, grateful for his steady, if slightly irritating, presence. You realize that your unique companionship with Scrappy has been a strangely comforting constant throughout this bewildering adventure. The sun, now a glowing ember, on the western horizon casts long, dramatic shadows across the newly freed multitude. The air here, though still dusty, feels cleaner, lighter, imbued with the taste of salty wind and the fresh scent of freedom. It's a stark contrast to the oppressive heat and fear of Egypt. This moment, standing on this new shore, is a widely known historical pivot point, the definitive break from bondage. You are truly, irrevocably free. As you slowly push yourself back to your feet, you begin to take in your surroundings. The new shore is unfamiliar, rugged, and stretches out into the vast, darkening desert. There are no welcoming committees, no signs pointing to hotels or rest stops, just sand, rock, and the endless horizon. It's a daunting prospect, but one filled with a strange, exhilarating sense of possibility. Historians still debate the exact location of the Red Sea crossing, but from your perspective, it's simply here, wherever here may be, and it feels undeniably sacred. An eccentric curiosity you observe is how some individuals, almost instinctively, begin to gather small shells and pieces of coral from the newly exposed seabed, as if collecting souvenirs of the impossible. Others are simply staring at their hands, as if needing to confirm their own existence after such a profound event. You also notice the incredible silence that descends once the initial gasps and cries subside, replaced only by the gentle lapping of the waves and the soft shuffling of tired feet. It's the sound of a people catching their breath, taking in the enormity of what just happened. You take a deep, shaky breath, filling your lungs with the salty air. You made it. But the journey, you realize, is far from over. The desert stretches. Ahead, an endless, unknown expanse, a new kind of challenge waiting to unfold under the vast, ancient sky. The overwhelming relief of reaching the other side of the Red Sea slowly begins to recede, replaced by a new, vast sensation, the endlessness of the desert stretching before you. The sun, a tired orange disk, is finally sinking, casting long, purple shadows across the undulating dunes and rocky outcrops. The air, once filled with the impossible roar of the sea, now carries only the gentle whisper of the wind, a lonely sound in this immense emptiness. You rub your tired eyes, trying to make sense of this new reality. You are free, yes, but free into this. You find a relatively flat patch of ground and sink down, pulling your knees up to your chest. Your body aches in places you didn't know existed, and your mind is a swirling mess of awe, terror, and profound fatigue. Scrappy, your goat, has, of course, found a small, stubbornly persistent weed poking out from between two rocks and is meticulously attempting to extract it. His simple focus is a strange contrast to your own complex emotions. He's a grounding presence, a reminder that even in the face of miracles and vast unknowns, life's basic rhythms endure. You smile faintly. If anyone can find sustenance in a barren desert, it's Scrappy. You look back towards the now closed sea, its surface shimmering deceptively in the fading light. It's hard to believe that just hours ago you walked across its very bottom. The image of those towering walls of water and the subsequent terrifying collapse is burned into your mind. It's a widely known historical event, etched into the collective memory of humanity, but for you, it's a living, breathing testament to power and salvation. You'll likely never look at a body of water the same way again. The desert night begins to assert itself, bringing with it a deep chill. You pull your meager tunic tighter around you, seeking what little warmth it can provide. Above you, the stars begin to emerge, one by one, then by the thousand, a dazzling, untamed canopy that stretches endlessly. Without the ambient light of modern cities, the Milky Way is a river of light, so bright and clear it almost feels like you could reach out and touch it. It's a humbling sight, reminding you of the vastness of the universe and your own minuscule place within it. Historians still debate the astronomical knowledge of ancient peoples, but you can feel, just by looking up, that they understood the profound majesty of the cosmos. An eccentric curiosity you observe is how quickly the multitude adapts to the new routine of desert night. Small flickering fires dot the landscape, tiny beacons of human perseverance against the encroaching darkness. You hear the low murmur of conversations, surprisingly calm given the day's events, and the gentle sound of animals settling. It's a quiet testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a desperate need for normalcy even in the most extraordinary circumstances. You also catch the faint, sweet scent of roasting manna from a nearby fire, a familiar aroma that now, strangely, brings a sense of comfort rather than boredom. Scrappy, having failed to extract his persistent weed, has now curled up beside you, a warm, fuzzy weight that offers a small measure of companionship in the vast, cold night. You close your eyes, the images of the day swirling behind your eyelids, the panicked flight, the impossible sea, the crashing waves, the sheer, breathtaking scale of it all. You are on the other side. You are free. But the desert stretches ahead, an unknown journey, a new chapter in a story you never expected to live. The future is uncertain, but for now, under the boundless starry sky, there is only the quiet rhythm of breathing, the faint whisper of the wind, and the incredible, overwhelming fact of your survival. The night air is cool now, wrapping around you like a soft blanket. The distant hum of the world you knew with its bright screens and endless to-do lists has gently faded away. Here, under this ancient sky, bathed in the soft glow of a million stars, there is only the quiet of the desert. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your own breath, a steady rhythm that guides you deeper into peace. Let go of any lingering thoughts or worries. They are like wisps of smoke in the vastness of this night, destined to dissipate and disappear. You are safe. You are warm. The journey for now has paused, and you are simply resting, held by the gentle embrace of time itself. Imagine the soft sand cradling you, the quiet sounds of the sleeping camp forming a gentle lullaby. Everything is as it should be, peaceful and still. Allow your mind to drift, to soften, as the ancient quiet of the desert fills every corner of your being. Let the starlight be your guide into a deep, untroubled slumber. Sweet dreams.